Hello everyone, welcome to the best channel following our family on YouTube. I'd first of all like to thank all of you who watched and supported and commented on our last video. It's been our most successful video yet, so I'm very glad that you seem to enjoy it. I will definitely be making more of those videos in the future, but this one is a project that's very close to my heart, and it's something that I felt very strongly the need to do. Now, it's probably not something that will speak to many of our usual viewers, because this isn't an update about what we're doing, this isn't a vlog, this is just an educational video. And as the title says, as you probably guessed, this video is meant to allow you to make your own 3D model and be able to use that in designing your piece of land. This is a free, open source option that anyone can do. So having said that, let's jump into it, and I hope you learn something.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to download Blender. So you can just search for Blender on your search engine, okay, blender.org, and then download Blender. And whatever your operating system, I'm using Linux, so it shows up. If you have Windows or a Mac. Now while that's downloading, we can actually go and install the add-on, because we're going to need a special add-on that was made in order for this to work. So you can go into the website that's linked underneath, and you'll get to this page, and you can see here code, and then download zip. And so you're going to download zip to wherever probably your downloads folder. I'm not going to show you how to install Blender. If you run into any troubles, then you can always look for online on their website. They tell you exactly how to install it on your operating system, but it's pretty straightforward and just like the installation of most softwares. So this is the opening window that you'll see, and we're going to click on General. So this is the starting point. And so what we're going to do is we're going to Edit and then Preferences. And so we're going to scroll down to Add-on. We're going to click Add-on. Now I already have it installed, but when you first go in, you won't have it yet. So we're going to click on Install, and then you're going to just locate the zip file without unzipping it. So you just click on the zip file, and you select Install Add-on, and then it should appear there, and you can just mark it to activate it. Once you've done that, you can close the window, and we're ready to start. Okay, so now we have our GIS add-on activated. We can click on GIS, go to Web Geodata, and then select Base Map. And this will open up this little window. And here we have different sources we can use, Bing or same different maps. We're going to use Google, and we want the satellite as opposed to the map. You can obviously change these and play around with them later, but for now we're going to do this for the 3D model. So if we click OK, it opens in Blender a world map. So you can see up here at the top it's downloading and getting everything that it needs. So we'll just let it load. And here we have the world map. And so if we zoom in, this actually zooms in to the world map. And if we click, we can move the cursor. And so we can choose anywhere in the world and simply zoom in. Or, if you prefer, we can also hit the keyboard G. And when we type G, we can have a search engine for Google Maps. So we can look up anywhere we want. We can decide what zoom level and click OK. We'll see, here's Permaculture. So it was a little bit off, but it gives you a good heading. I'm not sure about that, it's probably a bug. Anyway, once you find the area that you want, you can zoom in to more or less the size that you want it to be. And then once you've got the location, now it'll be a little bit bigger, so you can play around with this and see until you get to the right size. But when you have the place that you want, you just hit the key E on the keyboard, press E. And what that will do is it will show us this lovely plane of Google Maps, this image of what we were pointing towards. Now, if we click the middle button, we can actually sort of move the camera angle around. So if we click the middle button, it rotates the image. If we hold down Shift and then click the middle button, then it moves the actual place. and then scroll up and scroll down is to zoom in and out. So as we can see right now, we have a plane. So now we want to get that elevation into it. So we go back to GIS and then Web Geodata, and now we have Get Elevation. And so we click Get Elevation. You can choose 30 or 90 meters. We're going to go with 30 meters. Now at first it won't look like much has happened, but once you're finished, if we look from this view now, we'll see there's a very slight inclination, and we can see a little bit of the elevation details. This is because it's very small differences. So what we can do is we can go down here to the right of the screen on this little spanner icon which says Modifier Properties, and under Modifier Properties at the bottom here we'll have actually two sort of parts. We have strength, okay, and if we move this, if we adjust it, then two things are going to happen. It's going to make the elevation more noticeable, and it's also going to shift our model. So what we want to do is we want to zoom out a little bit so we'll be able to see it, and we're going to, now you can see how it's more pronounced. Now we want to move it back down to the origin, and so what we can do is we can press spacebar and then G, and that will allow us to move the item. This basically opens up the moving abilities, and these three arrows represent the three axes. So if we click on the blue arrow, that will simply drag it back down. Okay, now we can look and see that it's much more pronounced. So this is a good start to our model. Now we're gonna, now the buttons controlling it have actually disappeared. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the 3D cursor, and we're going to signal to it where we want to be able to control it. Let's say we want to do it just there. And so now we can right click and go Set Origin, Origin to 3D Cursor. And now if we try and move it, we'll see that it's back up the controllers. Okay, once we've done this, we want to go into the little icon here, which is the Texture tab, and here at the bottom we have under Settings, Alpha, Mapping, Sampling. We want to drop down the menu for sampling, and underneath we have interpolation. Mine is already shown, but if yours is jagged like this, you want to hit interpolation, and you see that sort of smooths all of the edges from this like jagged straight to a smoother design. Now we want to go back, we're now in our texture tab, we want to go back up to Modifier Properties, and first we want to apply the top modifier. So you might have a big apply button. If you don't, it's like mine, you have a drop down menu here right next to the modifier, and here we can press apply, and then once that's done we can apply the other one as well. So now we have the start of our 3D model, and what we want to do is we want to clean it up just a little bit. So until now, up here you can see that we have object mode. We're now going to change from object mode to edit mode. So you can either drop down the menu and click edit, or you can hit tab, and that will switch between object mode and edit mode. So now you can see that our whole shape is what's called a mesh, and what we want to do is we want to make it a little bit thicker so it'll be a little bit nicer underneath. So we're going to press A. Now we want to get into a nice side view of it, so hit on the top gizmo over here you have the Y axis or the E axis, whichever is more comfortable for you, but as long as we get a nice side view. And after we've hit A, all of them are selected. If you deselect them by accident, you can always hit A to choose all of them. We're going to press E, and once we press E we're going to be able to extrude to make it a little bit thicker. And so let's say we're going to go about double and hit the left mouse button, and that will freeze it in place. Now if at any point you make a mistake, you can always press Ctrl Z and it will undo, and if you want to redo, you press Ctrl Shift and Z and that will redo it again. So again we press E, scroll down to about double. If you've gone too far, and you want to just start over, try to go back, you can right click and that will cancel out what you were doing. So we have about half. Now we have only this bottom one selected, and that's what we want. We want to scale it so that this will be flat. So we're going to press S, and then we're going to press Z because we want to scale it on the Z axis, and then we're going to press the number 0. And once we press the number 0, it brings it down all the way. So we're going to left click, and that will save that as well. So again, it's S, Z, and then 0. Okay. Not bad, not bad. Now, as far as this video is concerned, we're basically finished with the model. Now, because this is a because this is a 3D modeling software, there's a lot more that you can do to make it a lot prettier and better. But for the scope of what we need, we're going to stick to simple so that we can get it done. So the only thing that we need to do right now is basically export this as a picture. And the way you do that in Blender is a little different. So if you look at the top over here, we have a few of these icons, and they can allow us to see different ways. This one, for example, shows through in case you've got objects inside. This one is sort of for the shading properties. So this is the material preview, but what interests us is the last one, which is the render preview. And you can see that as soon as we press the render preview, it gets very, very dark. In order to render properly, in order to see what we're doing, we have to get some light. And so what we're going to do is we're now going to go back into object mode, and we're going to deselect this. It's very important, otherwise it'll be connected. So we're going to deselect it so that it's not highlighted with orange. And then we're going to press add up on the top menu over here, and light. And here we're going to choose sun, and that's going to appear right where the 3D cursor is, and as you can see already, it's lit it. If it hasn't lit it for you, then you can right click, and at the top menu is going to be power. You can select power, and as you scroll your mouse to the right, it will be more and more bright, and as you scroll to the left, it'll be darker. And so you can decide how much light you want for it to be. You can also move it around, and that will affect the picture a little bit, but for our intents and purposes, we just want it really to be in the middle and to give us a nice light for everything. Okay, we're nearly done. The last thing we have to do now is deal with the camera. So in Blender, the way you actually render images is through a 3D camera. And so if you come to the right here, you'll see that we already have a camera in place, but that's not at the screen right now. So we're going to do the exact same thing again. We're going to deselect the sun because we don't want to connect it with it. We're going to deselect, we're going to press anywhere outside, and we're going to click add. And then down here we have camera, and that will again appear where the 3D cursor is. So we're going to take that camera, and now this is our camera. So if we press the numpad 0, this actually goes into the other camera. But since we don't want this other camera anymore, we're going to delete that one. So we can right click and just delete, and then we're going to select the other camera. And this camera, when we go into 0, should be somewhere near our model, our 3D model. So we only have a few more things to do now. If you would like to, then one very simple way is to simply choose the camera, press spacebar and R for rotate, and now you can move the camera all around. Now the thing about our camera is that it's very, very small for such a big model, so we're going to make it a little bit bigger. So we're going to select the camera, and we're going to press S, and what that's going to do is it's going to make it scale up. And now we can actually see the camera a little bit better. So we're going to press spacebar G to move it wherever we want, and then we can see where it's actually pointing to. So if we press spacebar R, we can sort of rotate a little bit and try and get the feel of where it is. And so you can use each of these individual rotating you can actually scale it a little bit more. Okay, now when we're inside the camera view, this is what the camera actually sees. So we can see outside to help us understand, but what we really want to do is we want to see very clearly what the camera is actually taking. So if we try and take a picture of this right now, you'll see that that's literally the image that we get, right? Very, very close up. So what we want to do, we want to zoom out a little bit. So in order to do that, we can right click, and the first option, since we're selected the camera, right click, and the first option is camera lens. Right now the camera lens is on 48, and if I move my mouse to the side, you see it zooms out, and this actually changes the focal length. So if you look at the top right over here, that's, you see here, this is the focal length, further out, further in, and so 20 is a pretty good wide lens to capture this size. And so now this is the picture, but we're still a little bit close, we can't see everything. So let's go out of the camera position again. So if you ever get stuck in that diagonal place, you can always press 1 or use the gizmo here to get back to whatever view that you want. Okay, so now that we've got our camera, we wanted to bring it back a little bit. So we're going to select the camera again and hit spacebar G to move it back just a little bit. And let's see how that looks now. Better. We can move it a little bit further back and a little bit more. Excellent. So now we can see our whole image. But if you'll notice, at the far end of the image, it seems to be a little bit distorted, a little bit cut off. And this is called clipping. So we don't want to have it cut off, we want to be able to see as far as we can. If we select our camera, we can go down to the right and we can see over here object data properties. Now this is the properties for the camera because we selected the camera. And if we look over here, we can see clip start, clip end. Now clip end is 1,000 meters, but the distance to here is 1,000 meters, so we want it to be more than that. So if we simply click and slide the mouse further back, you'll see on the screen it starts to reveal the rest of the model. So we can simply keep sliding it back. You can drag with the mouse left and right, or you can put in a number if you want, and that will act as a natural camera and how far it can see. So once you can see all the model, you can let go, and now we can take an overview picture of the whole model and the way it looks. So let's try and do that now. So now we can go into render image, and so this is indeed the image that we see. And so in order to save this as one single picture, we can go into image, save, or Alt S for the quick key, and that will ask you where you want to save it. And so I'm just going to go into my folder, and if you would like to choose a different file, we're going to do that in a minute. So first it'll save it as a PNG. We can do save as image, and that's our first image of the model that we have. So the last thing we have is basically just go over the few render settings, and if you look on the right of the toolbar, we have here output properties, that sort of printer icon. And if we click that, we can basically set all the different properties that we want for the picture, and down here you can see file format, and then you can choose in the file format how you want the picture to be saved, if it's a JPEG or whatever format you want. Now there is a feature in Blender where you can sort of move around with the camera like in a video game, and then you can sort of get different perspectives. It's a bit easier to control, and in fact you can even make a video of your flight and make it look sort of a bit more interesting. So if you'd like me to make a follow-up video on that, let me know in the comments. But for the sake of this video, I think we're going to keep it short so that it all stays simple and you can just have a picture of your model that you can use.
So thank you very much for watching. If you've made it this far, I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. I hope it's been helpful for you in your journey. If after seeing this you feel that you'd like to have this kind of 3D model but you can't be bothered to do it yourself, then we actually have a company that we started that deals in research and development of sustainable solutions, and we can do these kind of plans for you wherever your property is. And if you're in Portugal in the area, then we also do designs and construction of different systems based on sustainable energy. So if you'd like to hear more about that, if there's something that interests you, then you can email us at the link down below, abundantwisdom.lda@gmail.com, and we'll be in touch. If you enjoy the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and if you think of anyone who can use this and would like to know about it, then make sure you send them a link and share this. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.